Everybody, Obey the Papaya back at you again with another YouTube video. So we finally got patch notes, version 1.0.2. Just a quick little rundown on just the nerfs, slight nerfs, neutrals, slight buffs and buffs. If you guys just want to take a look at this, and we'll get down the list, go through them. We don't have any items. We do have item changes, but we're not going to show them. We're just going to do characters. Let me make sure my head's blocking the way on this one. Whoop. There you go. At least you see it now. All right, let's get straight into the notes. I want to push this guy back. There we go. So balance patch version 1.0.2. Greetings, champions. The dust settles. Version 1 release. We're looking ahead in the future. So soon, next patch, we're gonna get the new original Omega hero that's coming out. And here we got mouse and keyboard support for consoles, PS5 trophies, and more for the next patch, not this patch, giving us a little bit of a tease. But now we're going to take a look at what they're offering here. So biggest thing is Doomsday Steel. So if you're a big fan of skins, this skin, they released a YouTube video. I'll try and remember to post that in the comments. If anything, I'll post this in the comments and you will be, or this in the description, and you'll be able to click on it as well to see the patch notes yourself. But Doomsday Steel, I'm not going to take a big look on the overall bundles or anything. It's just not my type of thing. We did get a Revenant Clockwork skin. This is an original skin, I believe, from Omega. And this looks pretty interesting. I do like the design on that. I think it's uncommon, so I think it's 800, so $8-ish. Next we got his Punk Phase, common. We got the Mortgage skin that looks like a variant. Yes, that's a variant. Hero balance changes. So let's get straight into the hero balance. Argus. Argus has always been a dominant mid lane. Well, he's been strong mid lane, but he's been obnoxiously strong recently. So we're getting a health decrease from him, so it allows for some poke in the early game, which is good. It's helpful. His primary ability, which is his stun, got a damage decrease by 10 throughout the game. Then his explosion radius is decreased, so harder to hit the stun, which is actually really nice. Cooldown is increased right here from 16 to 17, so 1 second added. Explosion VFX reduced by 30% to better match its hitbox. So it looks like the VFX is bigger than the actual hitbox itself, I guess, with a 30%. Alright, Ultimate Fnatic Obliterator Magical Power Scaling decreased from 25 to 20%. Strong, it's a nerf, but it's not gonna, that consistent damage and clear that he's gonna have is not gonna be changed. They didn't affect his E, and they didn't affect his alternate ability. So his alternate and his secondary ability. He's still gonna be very disruptive. You're gonna have to use your E to start to engage and then throw a stun. I don't see this being that big of a deal. This is like, you're probably getting rid of 100 late game damage bonus. Granted though, it's 25% scaling on 3 of his ultimate hits. So it's like, you are getting a drastic change with it, but this is the more happy change, I would say. And this is just going to help for those securing, this is going to help nerf those secure kills type of thing, right? He's not going to be a miniature Murdoch ult. Aurora. So now this is a weird thing about Aurora. So we got Glacial Charge, her primary, which is her movement. Bonus movement speed is increased when you're walking on the Glacial Charge. And then, so they basically buffed her and allies to make her faster. Then the cooldown is decreased late game by a second. The explosion damage is decreased late game by 20. Now that's a pretty good damage size nerf. Now, like, I would say this is pretty strong movement. Like, movement speed in general is really good. So any type of buff to movement speed is huge, especially when it comes to escape, especially melee characters. Melee characters by default have faster movement speeds. So this affects them more, right? Indirectly. And then this little nerf here allows her to kind of proc abilities more. So it's like a proc things from your abilities. So I'm making this up, but let's say combustion, right? So this allows it to proc faster, or megacosm, it procs faster. You're not going to really build it on her. I wanted to say that she's relatively neutral because I do think this movement speed is pretty nice, and you know, you've got the reduction on cooldown and then the nerf on the damage. She's a very big sustain based character. Giving that little bit of lower cooldown to allow her to possibly get another hit for her lifesteal, because she usually tends to build Tempest. It's a little bit weird to me. I think she kind of, she's in the middle, basically, is what I like to say. Not much of a buff or really a nerf. It kind of balances out. So I put her in neutral, but I'm probably going to bias it a little bit towards buff. like I don't see it as a nerf compared to how much people are having issues with her. Now Decker's getting a movement speed decrease. Worth it. She has too much evasive movement, so I would say, you know, 5 movement speed decrease. It's not necessarily drastic, but it's something, and it definitely, you know, it'll help. Drongo's getting a nerf, so secondary on the rounds, getting lower damage late game. Actually, very drastic, by the way. If that's based off of the proc on per hit, so this is 40. Like this is pretty drastic on a per hit basis. And then her alternate ability getting nerfed throughout, which is gonna make him a little bit harder to get that poke in or even clear waves fast. So he got actually a pretty nice nerf right there. Now Fang Mao's been super dominant. We got the primary, so the bonus physical power scaling. Now the primary ability is a shield, so I don't know his kit too much. But I'm curious if this power scaling is based off of the shield. No, okay, that's the passive. But the primary, what was the? I can't say the primary is passive exactly, but I'm hoping that his hard engage that he's had does get beat up, right? So 5% decrease there, not very drastic overall. Guardian shield primary movement speed physical penetration scaling is decreased from 30 to 25. They haven't seen a lot of raw movement speed builds on him, like with Gaia, but he does so much damage that you could play him support because of how oppressive he is. Reaping Dash alternate, damage decrease from 100 to 90 early game, and then it does scale up, so damage decrease from 100 to 90. Yeah, so it's 10 nerfs straight up, and that's nice. I don't think it's necessarily drastic. I think his ultimate execute is really high, but we'll see what comes out of it. Whoopsies. Whoops. All right, Gideon. So Gideon struggles to keep pace with other mages, and it is true. We basically got cooldown nerfs on both his abilities. I don't think it's really gonna be that drastic. It's gonna allow him to clear faster, get some ability spam. You know, but it's he can't really use his ultimate as comfortably as he could before, and I think that's kind of huge. But this is gonna allow him to kind of spam. He's gonna have a better escape in a way, right? It's gonna be lower cooldown. But you're gonna basically be playing at 22 for a while, or at this point 22 for a while. You know, this is your last ability you level up. The Cosmic Rift, the primary, this is the first ability you level up. So it's, you know, it's gonna be nothing that you're gonna really notice, in my opinion, unless you get into team fights. Now Grux is getting some buffs. Physical armor growth is increased from 0.25 to 0.4. Now remember, early game armor is far more important because of how scaling works, right? So as you get more armor, it drops in effectiveness, right? So early game scaling, really solid. That's going to make him tankier. Smash and grab primary, cooldown decrease from 18 to 17, so getting a cooldown 1 second off of it. Then his crush ability getting cooldown reduction into late game. Not very drastic though. I don't know. I don't think strong low elo. I don't see this being an impact into late elo. Now Howitzer is getting what you would call he's getting more damage on top of his ult, but taking away from his primary kit, which late game is a freaking problem because I think he's gonna do a ton of damage, especially with Mega Cost and proc and all that, depending on what you build overall on him. R2000 primary damage is decreased by 5 throughout. Magical power scaling is decreased by 5%. Now, that's going to be somewhat noticeable when it gets into late game, right? As you can have like 400 magic power. But it's not very drastic to say. Landmine damage decreased from 100 to 90. So the landmine is used as an escape, as an engage, as a poke. It's still, you know, it's getting beat up, but it's not very drastic either. Usually this is the second level up too. So in terms of laning phase damage, you're not really going to have that much of a damage increase or loss per se. But the ultimate total damage is increased late game by adding about like what? An extra 50, 70, no 60 damage, 64 damage. And damage per missile is increased from 54 to 58. And this is a per, I mean, just more damage on a missile on ultimate. His ult already absolutely melts in late game, and they're basically buffing it. Like I'm a little just interested in what their plans are for this and why they did this. Like, they could have just nerfed his 2000 and just a tad bit, and he still has some viability. He's kind of not the most fun character to play for me, but he's very oppressive and he is very strong. And I do think that he plays against Argus pretty well due to his E canceling Argus and kind of putting him out of position to have the range on him. So he is really strong right now. So I'm just interested why they did these type of changes to him. It doesn't really, you know, I don't poke potential. He has strong poke and he has strong engage, but that's the risk he takes of getting easily ganked. So now Kwang, Strike of the Heavens. So Kwang is actually getting almost the same change as him, but I feel like it's more of a nerf side. It's kind of weird as well. So Strike of the Heavens passive damage. This is the true damage, I believe. That's getting straight raw nerfed. So this is gonna help early game, right? Early game poke, not gonna do as much damage. His primary ability, which is his root or his tether, that's getting a cooldown decrease into late game, and that's, I mean, 1 second, it's drastic. It's a very strong ability, and then it's also getting a mana cost decrease. So he's gonna allow to spam this a little bit more early game, but less mana. Because that's the only thing. I feel like if you do use his Q a lot, you do lose out on a lot of mana. Light of the Heavens alternate. So this is a spam ability right here. We're getting the held damage decreased, and the shield is being decreased as well. This is going to prevent, that's going to actually hurt him a lot, actually. I think this was the biggest thing that put me into the nerf side of things, 100%. Especially like this extra ult damage early game. I don't know, man. I don't see it being that effective compared to kind of hurting his little shield bonus and his held damage on the alternate. So a little interesting to see right there. Bellica. So Bellica's getting a little buff with her R&B, her alternate ability. She'll be able to poke more. I don't think it's enough to really help with clear, per se. I think if they bump this up an extra 5, and then I think they could have kept the cooldown the same, it would have been fine. She doesn't have as much damage to clear wave, but we'll see. Maybe this puts it in execute range faster. Murdoch getting nerfed on his ultimate, so this is just going to allow him to not have his ultimate up for kill steals as often. Honestly, worthwhile, because that's how I feel like Murdoch's, it's nice to play a Murdoch in solo queue, because if you can't really get a kill in lane, you can at least steal it, and that's going to help you climb up, right? Muriel is getting a monstrous buff, so slow change from 35% into 34 up to 50%. Absolutely huge, and I think it's going to make her so strong. Slow duration is decreased from 2 to 1.5. I don't know if that even matters with how much you're cutting back on that slow. Oh, man. So her alternate ability, shield, is increased, big buff, or especially early game. Shield magical power scaling is increased by a big amount relative to what it was before. Movement speed is increased, that's a big buff. Mana cost is decreased, and the cooldown is decreased as well. Early game, that is actually going to be insane. They really, really buffed that ability. And on top of that, the slow on her primary. Holy crap, that's going to be wild. So probably the biggest buff I think is Muriel, which I didn't see a lot of people talk about. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think Muriel's really strong now. Phase. So physical power increased just a tad bit. Physical power growth is increased. Makes it a bit more. It's just physical power growth. So just better basic attack on clear. I mean, you're not really gonna take her besides support, but she's gonna do a little bit more basic damage. So that is worthwhile for her. Healing magical power scaling is increased. Give her some more heals. Magical power scaling is increased on her energy lance. Pretty drastic. That's a 5% buff overall. Hyperflux ultimate decaying movement speed is increased. Pretty strong. It is going to be really good for Sparrow. It's a percent based, so that's gonna do really good. Even on like Grux. Imagine a Grux getting ulted and just running you down with that extra 5%. Now, Rampages have been super overpowered, and he's only getting a slight rumble damage nerf, which I think isn't really going to do anything. So I don't know what to tell you. Let's see what happens, because he looks like he's an absolute beast. He's so tanky. Tank meta's back. It's wild. I'm kind of disappointed by this. Now, Richter's actually getting a buff on his secondary. Bonus health scaling is increased. Wow. Cooldown decreased. Wow. Bug fix now correctly shows its level reduction when ranking up the ability. Okay. This is going to mid-buff him up for off lane. Yeah, here. Jungle and off lane. I don't know why. Because, I don't know. He plays too many roles. He plays 3 roles. That's just too much in my opinion. I don't like that, especially in high level and comp play. It's hard to counter that. Because he's broken. He hits the ability, you basically win the fight. I mean, it's just, that's how strong he is. Now, Seraph here, we're getting a buff. Mana increase from 350 to 365. Mana growth is increased by a pretty sizable chunk. Primary on Heaven's Fury, damage is increased. This is the teleport, the primary ability, the Q. Now, Shinbi's getting a buff too. Her circle rhythm allows her to be more tankier. Damage magical power scaling is increased 3%. I guess that's a per tick type of thing. Shield magical power scaling is increased by a sizable amount, 5%. Um, her alternate ability, this is her dash, also getting a damage increase, and this is a twice proc. So you're getting 20 more damage basically if you hit both of them. Sevra getting a little bit of interesting nerf buff. Damage is decreased on his ultimate, but then they increase the magical power scaling for it to force you to try to build some more. To build, if you want to go tank Sev, you're gonna miss out. If you want the damage back, you got to go more magic power Sev. I think it's a good balance. This is something that is needed, but he's a raid boss, especially when the person knows how to play a good Sev. Now Terra is getting really interesting nerf. True damage decrease from her Q. It just seems to be late game, really late game affecting. Wild Rush alternate ability, her dash. Shield max health scaling is decreased from 14 to 12%. Allows her to be less tanky. Ultimate bonus physical armor is decreased. So yeah, this is just a nerf on her ult. That's actually yeah, 26-24. Early game, so 10 to 8. Yeah, so this is actually really that's gonna be a pretty sizable nerf for early game, because once again, armor matters more early on as you build it. HP is better early game, hence why Raymond Renewal is OP. The Fae, so let's see if Fae physical armor is increased on her, allows her to be more tanky, basically prevent the basic attacks from doing a lot of damage to her. Her mana is decreased though, which kind of sucks. I don't think I really have too much of a problem with her with mana though. Her passive movement speed is increased, so when she gets a kill, she gets a movement speed increase. This is pretty drastic, and the duration is decreased from 5 to 3, which kind of it's good for escapes though and stuff. So I'm fine with it. Bramble Patch, cooldown is decreased by a sizable amount early game. The slow is changed a bit, so that's the slow is a little bit nerfed, buffed into late game, because that 50 is gonna be monstrous into late for escapes and all that. And mana cost is decreased, so this is gonna be it's gonna be strong after you level up your E all the way, and then you only level 3 times into your RMB, your alternate ability, and you max this out. You're gonna see a sizable benefit no matter what. But I like this. I like this change overall. Harvest Nettle secondary, so the poke ability, damage change from 90 to 85, so just a straight up nerf, but a buff into late game. Magical power scaling is decreased slightly. Unfortunate. Damage amplification per stack is decreased. Damage amplification duration is increased, which is actually a big deal, because if you miss, you have another chance to still get the amplification. You might even have 3 chances to get the amplification, right? So it's going to be pretty. I like this overall change actually. Damage amplification max stacks increased from 3 to 4. So oh man, that's a sizable buff right there. Cost decreased from 50 to 40. Good. I like that. Mana refund decreased from 35 to 30. It's okay. I mean, it matches the 40, so it's still a very strong buff. Projectile cast time responsiveness improved. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I love her. She's so overpowered right now. Untamed Growth alternate ability is getting a cooldown increase. Not that big of a deal. It's for the lane clear mostly, and on top of the ult, so I don't care about this. Very, very minimal nerf. Flytrap ultimate is getting power scaling increase. They need to do something though about the damage being instant, in my opinion. Maybe I'm biased though, but very nice nerf. Very nice buff for Faye. Twin Blast. Twin Blast passive bonus attack speed is increased, so he's getting buffs straight across the board, which is insane to me. Damage per bullet on his ultimate is also increased. Straight up buffs is just nasty to me. I don't know why. He's a very strong character, so I don't like this at all. Zinx getting nerfed across the board. Mana decrease from 3080 to 350. Mana regen decrease from 1.6 to 1.3. Mana regen growth increase from 0.12 to 0.15. So a little bit of just having some more maintenance. Oh, it's later on. Nah, it's not really. She gets a little beat up from that, and then had a little bit growth. Her sustain might get hurt a little bit. Her passive bonus infused health is decreased. Very good. This is after the 5 stacks, I believe, so it's not necessarily, it's hard to get there per se, but not into late game really. But she heals like a monster. Bad medicine secondary cost is decreased from 60 to 50. I assume this is the mana cost. So this is her portal thingy that she throws on the ground. Her heal Healing magical power scaling is decreased. So yeah, you're getting that decrease and that decrease. And then her sustain should be lowered. Her ultimate duration, yes, this is, I think it should be like 3.53 seconds. I think it lasts way too long. And then it takes a while for them to actually come up once they are dead. So I kind of, I would like changes to that personally. Um, Let's see. Item balance changes. Now, I haven't actually looked at the items. Let's take a gander. Nuclear rounds ability haste has increased. Wow. This has been a strong item still. It kind of got, I guess it did get nerfed before, so it kind of dropped down. But, well, Envy is going to be super interesting here. This was making Fang Mao pretty strong. Physical pen has decreased. Sacrificial strike duration has decreased. So, Hush Silence duration has decreased to 0.8 second. I don't know what that is supposed to mean. So a little bit of it, that's, I mean, any amount of time you're saving where you're throwing a blink out and all that is a big deal. And then the sacrificial strike duration, this is the damage. You gotta hit them within that time. So that's actually pretty nice. It's usually pretty easy to stack the damage, so I'm not really worried about that. Infernum, Cinder, max health damage is increased. Yeah, because it got nerfed. You couldn't re-proc it over and over again like Mega Cosm. So it got its buff back again. Malady, parting gift damage is decreased. Oh, that's a little unfortunate. I know that's kind of what made, definitely made the, what do you call it? Wraith really strong. Mesmer, physical power increase from 40 to 45. Vengeful Shroud, cooldown increase. Wow, they're making the shield longer CD to make it similar to the magic one, the magic power one. Okay, I guess you're getting. I don't know. I mean, you see it often, but not, you don't see it that often. Maybe on like Wraith is the only person I see this really built on. Basilisk, Eminence missing health damage is increased. No way, man. This item is so strong. Oh man, this is gonna be so strong more now. Bone Saw, Colossal Sunder, bonus attack speed increased from 10 to 12%. Wow. Bone Saw is getting a buff. It's gonna help, what's his name a bit? Grux, the only person who I think builds it. Physical armor is increased on Draconum. Strong item, but you really have to count on those takedowns. Earthshaker attack speed is increased from 25 to 30. I haven't seen this built that much, so I don't know if this is going to be enough. A Legacy magical armor increased from 30 to 35. Now, I don't see Legacy built as much either, so I'm curious to see. I don't know if this will be worthwhile for magic armor. It's a very nice passive, but you know, it's what, after 40% HP? So it's a little bit risky. Risque. There's better items. Lifebinder, ability haste increase. This is actually pretty good. I might try this item out on the Countess now. So that could be something that kind of keeps Countess involved in fights in a way. I might try it out on her. Magnify, Arcana magical armor shield shred is increased. That's going to be pretty drastic. But I mean, who's really going to benefit off of that? Shinbi, Aurora, Kwang, probably. I don't see many of the casters benefiting too much off of it. But the shred is increased. I mean, that's drastic. That's big. Orb of Enlightenment health per level is increased. Oh, so this is going to be more tankier. Maybe. I haven't built it that much because damage has been so strong. So we'll see if this sustain is needed more. Spellbreaker. Oh, okay. So no, Spellbreaker did have its cooldown reduced. And I'm pretty sure it was 60. I guess they reduced it and now they're bringing it back up to match the other spell shield like Mesmer. Support items. Dawnstar health increased 250 to 300. I do not know crap about support items. I'm sorry. So we'll go over them. Incannons max healing decreased from 100 to 300 to 100 to 250. Incannons damage store decreased from 30 to 25%. Martial base mana regen is decreased. Oh, this is gonna hurt. I mean, it's not drastic, but a little bit of a hurt to the magic regen. Sustain for staying in lane mana. Elefrost health decreased from 400 to 350. Physical armor increase. So this is gonna help out more into late game. Still pretty strong overall item. I mean, it didn't get any effect to its damage or anything. It's still a very strong item. So we'll see. Giant's Ring. Health decreased from 350 to 300. Physical armor is increased. So they did the same thing. They just kind of, it looks like they're moving health into armor now. This is gonna be benefiting more into late game, which I don't know if I like that. I mean, people are tanking early game, it's noticeable, but man, people are tanking late game too. I'm curious to see what's gonna happen. Here we go. Health is decreased on Raymond of Renewal. It needs it. I think it could be 600. And be fair, it makes Richter so OP. And Richter I think got what? No, he didn't get. Did he get a change to armor growth? I forgot. But it makes Steel and Richter super strong. So it's sizable. I think it needs to be nerfed just a tad bit more, especially with some of the buffs and how with Richter and how offensive Steel just is in general. Warden's Faith. They haven't seen it built too much, but Mocking Presence physical power reduction increased from 5 to 8. Pretty sizable. This may be something stronger now. I want this item to be stronger, but tanks are already kind of getting really strong. So now I'm like, oh man, this is gonna really hurt the crit builders. Revenant coming back up. No, Rev's crit based, so this would hurt Revenant indirectly if with this buff. Alright, so that's all for now. 1.02 might be a lighter patch than a recent 1.0, but registered 1.1 is looking good. So you can have a blast with a new hero. Until next time, Ray, Alex, and Carrie. Alright, well, it was a pretty interesting patch. I don't necessarily think it's bad. I'm interested to see how it works. It's been kind of a boring meta, at least in ranked. It's the same characters being played over and over again. Hence why I would love to get rid of the stupid mirror matches. They need to get rid of mirror bans. Maybe that would help out instead of everyone banning Rampage or everyone banning Zinx. So I would also like 2 bans per team as well, because there's just a lot of characters. It would help the variety a lot. So overall, pretty interesting bounce patch. I'm excited to see what it's going to do. The tanks, excited, maybe not. As a mid lane main, we're probably going to get a little beat up. But we'll see overall what happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Also, for anyone that doesn't know, RG Sauce did post a Gamescom video on his channel. I might put that in the description if you want to take a look at it. Just kind of what he did at Gamescom. It's just interesting. I mean, it's always nice to kind of see what the devs are doing and have insight on Pred. But definitely check out his channel. Alright, so on that note, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you do enjoy, as it does help me and helps motivate me, and all that good stuff. But on that note, take it easy, have a good one, go look in your games, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.